Hey YouTube, welcome to New England Homesteaders channel. My name is Chad and I am a New England homesteader. Well, an aspiring one anyway. You know, it's interesting kind of embarking on this self-reliant journey. My wife and I have been married for 25 years in September, and we have 5 kids, and we always knew where our food came from. And I grew up hunting and fishing, and I lived in Montana growing up and moved around quite a bit. My dad was in the Air Force, but we've been here now. I'm about an hour west of Boston here in Massachusetts, and I've been here for 19 years now, and it's hard to believe that that much time has gone by. But about 10 years ago, we kind of got the self-reliant bug a little bit and started to garden and started growing some of our own food, and we hunted, and one of my buddies or I usually would get a deer every year, so we'd always have meat in the freezer, and we'd buy stuff in bulk and all that. So we started the garden, and we did that for about 5 years, and then we started really getting the bug to get a little bit more into homesteading. So we started looking for a property about 5 years ago, and got really frustrated. A lot of the land here in New England was either just not in a good location, or there was a big old farmhouse that would need a lot of work and a lot of money put into it. And so we just kind of took a step back and really worked on getting our finances in order. And timing has a way of working things out, and finally this past year we decided that we wanted to do something to kind of take that next step. We didn't have a piece of property or anything yet, so we decided we were going to get bees, and we went to some seminars and looked at getting bees, but it was a little bit more of a learning curve than we were expecting. So we decided to get chickens. So if you take a look over my shoulder here, I think you can probably see chickens. We got chickens just about a year ago, and that has just been awesome. We've had so much fun with them, and we get about 8 to 10 eggs a day from 10 chickens. I'm going to do a couple of videos here coming up on my first year with the chickens and my chicken coop, and some of the challenges we've had or the things that we've learned with our chickens. But back in December, we started looking again and found a piece of land that had a cabin on it. And it's about an hour north of here. It's up in New Hampshire. And we are going to move up there in a year and do the homesteading thing. And we're really excited about that. We feel at times a little bit overwhelmed. We've got so much to do. We've lived in this house for 19 years, so there's a lot of upgrades and things that we need to do to the house here before we are able to get it on the market. We've just recently been working on the kitchen, and I very quickly realized that there's no way that we can live in this house while we're showing it. We have 5 kids. The oldest one is 27, she's out in California, and then I have 2 sons that are 21 and 20, and then my twin sons are 14. So they're the only 2 that are really at home right now, but it still is definitely a challenge to put a house on the market when you have a couple of dogs and a couple of kids. Just constant battle to keep things clean. So we've got to move up to the cabin before we can get this house on the market. So therefore, before we can start building our house up on the homestead, we've got to get this house sold. So we set ourselves a deadline, and part of the reason that I'm doing this channel, kind of to share what we're doing with friends and family, but also to network with people. I'd love to hear from people that are kind of making this move from suburbia. If you take a look here over my shoulder at my neighbors, I'll just kind of give you the little panoramic view of my backyard. We've got 1/3 of an acre here in Massachusetts, so not a lot we can work with in terms of homesteading and self-sufficiency and self-reliance. We can have chickens, so we've got 10 chickens. We are allowed to have a rooster, but I don't, because I know my neighbors would probably shoot me. So we just have 10 chickens. Had to get a permit, so you'll see our little coop and stuff in the background here, but we had to get a permit for chickens. So I am absolutely ready to move out of Massachusetts and get up to live free or die New Hampshire. So I'm excited to hear from others that have kind of taken the same path, and hear about things that have worked and things that haven't worked. And part of doing something and setting goals for yourself too is holding yourself accountable. So I figured if I make this video, and I'm going to start this YouTube channel and talk about June 15th of 2018, which is 15 months from now, that's when we're moving into the cabin. And it's going to be interesting with 4 of us and a couple of dogs and a couple of cats, and I think my boys still have gerbils, and we've got fish. So we're going to be making some life changes, but we're going to move into the cabin, and it's going to be a sacrifice, but it's going to be worth it because we're going to be living on our own land. And you'll get to see the property. Once the snow and the mud goes away, I'm going to head up there in a couple weeks, and I'll do a little video up there. But I'm excited to document this journey to self-reliance over the next 15 months, and doing this as much for me, like I said, to hold us accountable, but also to kind of keep track of what we're doing and where we've been. And we've got a lot of dreams and a lot of hopes and ideas and a lot of plans. I'm going to be working with a couple of different consultants for food plots on the back part of the property for deer and turkeys, and there's bear and moose on the property. But the front probably 10 to 15 acres of the property is really going to be the homestead. And it's in the middle of nowhere. It's miles off of pavement, and it used to be sheep farming, pastures land back in the probably 17 and 1800s. That whole area of New Hampshire fed a lot of the wool into the textile industries, both in New Hampshire and down here in Massachusetts. So it's funny that things are going to kind of come full circle, and we're going to turn this neglected forest land back into a lush pasture, and really aspire to accomplish this permaculture homestead. I was recently introduced to the concepts of permaculture in the last several years as I started digging in, and I came across a book by Ben Falk called The Resilient Homestead. It's a whole systems design approach to designing your homestead, and you're basically creating this whole ecosystem on your property. So you guys should definitely go check that out. He's right in Vermont, and there's some great courses. I may end up taking a course, but probably going to engage them as consultants and help with getting the design and everything set up properly on this piece of land right from the beginning. But over the next year, you're going to see me make some trips and go meet with farmers and meet with some people that are doing this and some consultants. Ultimately, in the next 2, 3, 4 years, we want to be up in New Hampshire, and I plan on breeding chickens for eggs and meat, and probably goats and sheep for milk and meat, and probably rabbits thrown in there, and definitely some quail. I want to get a greenhouse and possibly even experiment with a Walpini, or a below ground level greenhouse that would allow us to actually raise some fish through the winter time. So I got a lot of research to do. I got a lot of places to go and a lot of things to accomplish here. But over this next year, our goal basically is going to be to get this homestead ready for us to move in there in June. So as soon as the mud clears, and if you look around, you can see there's a decent amount of snow here on the ground. We've already been through 3 complete thaws this year, but we just got snow again Friday and Saturday. And up in New Hampshire where our cabin is, I think we got like another foot yesterday. So it's going to take a couple more weeks for that to all go away. But once that goes away and the mud season clears, the timber guy is going to get in there and start clearing the site for the homestead. And we're going to harvest some timber and use some of that money to help pay for some of the projects in the early phases of prepping the land. I've got a bunch of grape plants and blueberries and raspberries. I need to get those all potted here in the next week or so. I'm not going to be able to get those in the ground until the end of May, once the frost is gone. So that's all going to happen here in the next couple weeks. I'm going to be visiting with some friends of ours that have a farm. They just got a nice tractor, so I'm going to go check out the tractor. I'll do a video of sort of interviewing them about their journey over the past year, and they're breeding a bunch of quail and ducks and chickens, so that's all exciting and right where we want to be. I think they've got goats, and one of their goats is actually pregnant right now, which is exciting. So we're going to go visit them, and we'll be talking to there's a quality deer management consultant guy that helps with food plot design and stuff for the back of the property. We'll go check out his property, and we'll be meeting with the timber guy. There's a lot going on. So I wanted to get this video out and just kind of introduce you to the channel and what we're doing and what our plans are. And one of the quotes that I heard recently, and thus the title of the video, is the best time to plant a tree. Well, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. But the second best time to plant a tree is today. So it's never too late to get started. I'm 48 years old. I wish that I was where I am now, sort of in my head and the stage of my life 10 years ago. This whole homestead design process, is like a 5 to 10 year. It's a sort of a never-ending process. And there's my dogs coming to visit. What's up, Cooper? Come here, Cooper. You go get the birds? Where's the birds? He's a greyhound mix, so he's gone chasing birds. So it's never too late to get started. You know, I wish I was here about 10 years ago, but it wasn't feasible financially and with the stage of our life. So now we've got 2 kids at home. They're going into 9th grade this year, finishing up 8th grade this year, and it's the right time for us. So I hope you guys will subscribe and take this journey with us over the next 15 months to move up into the homestead, and over the next couple years as we get all of these systems and practices in place, and basically rehab this landscape that has been pretty abused over the last, you know, couple hundred years. You know, it was completely deforested back in the 17 and 1800s, and it's really interesting. In the back of our property, I'll take you guys for a little walk down there, but down about 400 feet back behind the cabin is a little valley, and there's a stream down there, and there's a site of like an old mill or something that was there, but there's 2 big old oak trees there that have to be more than 12 feet in circumference. And it's interesting that those 2 trees were not cut down. Everything else is way younger than that. It looks like the property was probably timbered about 15 years ago, but all the timber is much younger than that, but these 2 trees are probably 250 years old. So really cool to have trees that old on the property, and kind of wonder why they were never cut down. But that's enough talking. We've been gone today. We were down in Connecticut for my mother-in-law's birthday, and so the chickens are definitely excited to get some treats. So I put together some sunflower seeds and some scratch feed and some cabbage. Cabbage was on sale. I know last week at the grocery store, my wife picked up about 6 or 8 heads of cabbage that were less than 50 cents a piece. So, you know, in the summertime we grow our own vegetables and harvest weeds and things in the yard for them, but it's a little tough in the winter. I'm not sure if any of you others who have chickens can relate to this absolute mud pit that we have going on here right now. It's definitely a challenge this time of year with all the snow melting, and it was gone twice and really started to dry out nice, but now here it is, just an absolute mess again. So kind of a challenge. But these are the chickens. We've got 10 of them. They're just a year old. Back in April of last year is when we got them. They were just chicks that were probably, you know, like just days old. And now we've had them for a year, and they all are just excellent egg producers. Like I said, we get about 8 to 10 eggs a day. The production dropped off a little bit in the wintertime, but we're back up to 8 or 9 eggs a day. I'm going to check here in a second. Because of the snowstorm the last couple days, I hadn't been out here and I didn't get the eggs this morning, so there's probably 2 dozen eggs in the nesting boxes. In the next week or so, I'm going to do another video and talk about the coop. This is a coop that I built myself a year ago. Just kind of drew up my plans and put it together myself, and there's a couple things that I could do differently and some things that I'm going to have to fix, so I'm going to kind of share that with you. It'll be a little do-it-yourself chicken coop video. But just coming out here in my backyard with these chickens is just one of the most relaxing things. It's so great to just watch them eat like this and listen to them, and it's a pretty nice escape. So that's about enough for today, but let's check and see how many eggs we got from the last 3 days. Let's see. We got a lot of eggs. I'll have to count and see how many we've got. There's even one over there, but I'm guessing that's about 2 dozen. I think it's 3 days worth, so let's go ahead and grab those eggs. So look at that. That was actually 36 eggs. So I'm guessing that's probably 4 days. So I'm guessing that nobody got the eggs on Thursday either. So it's still pretty good. It's their first year. I guess they generally lay more heavily in their first year, but they're all doing really well for our first time with chickens. I certainly will do a few more videos on chickens and the chicken coop and some of the challenges we've had and a couple of things that I would do differently with the coop and we'll probably need to repair. But that's about it for today for the first video here for the channel. I'm gonna try very hard. It's, you know, pretty crazy with our lifestyle and we're still busy. My wife and I both work full-time jobs, but I'm gonna try very hard to get a video up every week. So I hope you guys will subscribe and tune in and share this journey with us and weigh in with your own ideas and your own successes and failures and kind of take this journey together. So hope you guys are doing well and have a great week, and I will get back at you soon. Get out there and seize the day and plant a tree. Talk to you soon. Bye.